So I just went to do some groceries in a relatively affluent area nearby. When I see there, I usually see a lot of people who look relatively rich, or at least they look like they're doing well in life. So I was simply walking past a few stores, and then I suddenly saw a guy who was my age, who seemed like he was homeless. And of course, this is a bit of a tricky thing to say, but I would assume he's homeless from the way he looked and the things he was carrying, and just the level of untidiness. And he also smelled like, old sweat, let's just put it like that. And I've seen homeless people before, of course, and also in other countries of the world. And it always seems very sad to me. But what seemed particularly sad about this situation today was that it was a guy um, who could have been me. He had more or less the same age as me. He looked a bit like me. Just in general, it's a very painful realization how unlucky some people can become in life. And I've personally been through a lot of struggles. Um, and I feel very lucky to have not ended up that way. I could have easily ended up homeless as well. And when I saw this guy, I saw some people who are homeless. When you look at them, they seem like they're not really present, and they might be on drugs or whatever. I mean, I think drug addiction is a big cause of people being homeless, or at least originally it was. But what we now see is that, for example, in this country, there's such a housing shortage that there's even a phenomenon of people who are working. They're working normal jobs and they don't have a place to stay. So they either live on the streets, or they just randomly crash a couch with friends for a few days, and then they have to move on because you can't always indefinitely stay somewhere. But this guy's situation, there was just something very painful about the way he looked back at me. And at moments like that, I just feel frozen. And afterwards, you start having all these fantasies of what you could have done, like you could have given him something to eat or whatever. But I just felt frozen, and it was just very shocking. And I've seen this side before, but this particular moment was just so confronting in a way. And whatever the cause of I've read an article, for example, once, of a guy who was simply a student, and he had a lot of bad luck, and his parents died, and then he ended up on the streets as well. So I've always been fortunate enough to go back to my parents when things weren't working out for me. But I realized that it's for many of us, and the people who watch these videos, that these things are possible. And my biggest message is, I think that you can be simply unlucky, but I think also a lot of reasons behind why this happens is that people are addicted to things, and that they don't have their life under control, and then their life just spirals out of control, like it did in my case. But this life, like, gets so out of hand, to the extent that I see this guy. Like, it makes me really sad. I feel very emotional when I'm talking about it. Like, when I see this guy just in this condition, and it makes me so sad that there's so much money being made by like institutes that just just for the cause of profit, they keep pushing these addictions. And the most obvious ones are like alcohol, smoking, gaming, porn, weed, whatever. And then you have the more illegal industries, like, well, in some countries gambling is also illegal, in some countries it's legal. But for example, drug abuse tends to be illegal, but there are obviously people making money off it as well, big money. Um, but personally, when I think of my own things like porn addiction, game addiction in the past, and I feel like how my life could have turned out, and it just makes me so sad at the reality of the world, that you see someone struggling like that. Um, and I cannot do anything about it. I can just share this message. And the one thing I want to say is, please take your life seriously, because all your actions have consequences, and if you keep being stuck in bad habits that slowly destroy you, you will get nowhere. I had years of going absolutely nowhere, no future, no perspective, and I changed my life, and I'm doing pretty well for myself now, even though some things can be challenging sometimes. But I just, what can I say, man? It's just you have to take this seriously. You have to understand how much your actions impact your future and how important it is to secure some kind of future for yourself. Because, I'm sorry to say this, but in the end, I think in alone, like in life, you got to be pretty much on your own mostly. You might get some help from people, but it's you who's going to do the work. If you build a disciplined lifestyle for yourself, then you'll see that you can make progress. But please don't keep stuck in these bad habits and waste your life, because what I tell in this video is where it may lead you, and you were not born for that. You were born for greatness. You were not born for misery. It's just that this world is a very can be a very sad reality sometimes, and it's up to you to not get caught in the spider's web of despair that is unfortunately part an inevitable part of our existence, but it can be contained, and please do so. So after filming that clip, I actually went back and looked for the same guy, and I found him next to a supermarket, and I tried to help him, which is of course also a very tricky thing, because the question is, do people actually want to be helped, or are you actually being annoying to them when you offer some help? But I tried to offer him a warm meal somewhere in that street, as well as one night at the hostel, so that he could go to like a shelter next day. Um, and then after saying that he wasn't interested in the food, but he was interested in staying somewhere. What I did after that is I saw two people in a uniform walking by. Like it's not like police, but it's some kind of a lower level management kind of thing, like street vigilance or something. I mean official, like in an official function, but they're not like actual police. So they asked for people to come pick him up or something, but it turned out they couldn't pick him up and bring him anywhere, and it also turned out that these places are not usually not accessible for foreigners. Because yeah, okay, I forgot to mention that. So he was from the French part of Belgium, the French speaking part of Belgium. So when these other officers arrived, so they said they would essentially someone that, like, they talked to him, but they also said they would call in the police pretty much to see what the police could do. So the police, never sure if they tell you the truth, but what they told me is that the police could do several things, like look where he's actually from, whether they can bring him back to Belgium, whatever. Um, like, it's tough because he might have some kind of criminal record, so you never really know what you're doing with this. But I just try to see if I could do something, and yeah, it's tough, and I just tried the best I could. But that's for the reasons I mentioned in this video, because I really feel it. Yeah, so he's probably addicted to a bunch of things, like alcohol. I saw him with cans of beer, as well as with. I thought he was smoking a cigarette, but it turned out to be weed. So that's why he was also a little like hard to talk with. But it wasn't like he was totally confused either. So I just tried my best, and I guess there was nothing else I could do. But it's a painful thing to watch, and I hope this will never happen to any of you, because I was once at the edge of this. Of course, not as bad as this, but on the edge, on living on the streets and whatever. So it's a painful thing to watch, and usually you cannot help people like that. So I hope there will be some authorities that are able to help this guy, and that's as far as I could go. But I'll just leave it up to fate now to decide, or God, or whatever you believe in. But yeah, I just wanted to share this because I thought it was an interesting experience, and that's what my channel is for.